Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Hi, everyone. So today I'll be speaking about making on-chain data a public good via the graph. And before I jump in, just as Andy said, I wanted to kind of double click on the relationship between Chainlink and the graph, because we are very similar, but we kind of do opposite things. And so Chainlink brings real world data to the blockchain, which is extremely important so that I can see like the weather data on the blockchain. And the graph is bringing on-chain blockchain data to the rest of the world. And between the partnership with the graph and Chainlink, now all of Chainlink's Oracle data can be indexed and queried via the graph. So if you are a builder in the ecosystem, would love to see what you build between the graph and Chainlink's technology. So looking back to the advent of the internet, data changed everything. And every time we use the internet, we're interacting with data. Anytime we watch something on Netflix, anytime we search anything on Netflix, we order groceries from an application, order a book from Amazon, that's all data on the internet. And every time we interact with that data, we're actually creating more data on the internet. But the crazy thing about the current internet is that those applications or those centralized companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, they have closed APIs. And so there's all of these walled gardens. They own that data, even though it's their users' data, our data, they own that data and they have created a business model around that data. And they've kind of made us the product and they sell us ads like Google. That's their business model, is to kind of sell us advertisements or sell advertisements on behalf of companies. But other applications can also sell our data in the background. And this, to me, is not what the internet was created for. This is not, there was a really pure idea of the internet at the time it was conceptualized. But the internet now makes us the product, and that's what the internet is incentivized to do. So, of course, that's what the internet is doing. But within the blockchain space, within Web3, we're breaking that open and we're kind of flipping it on its head. The graph breaks down these walled gardens using applications, using open APIs, which we call subgraphs. And almost all of the applications on Ethereum and in other blockchains use subgraphs. And instead of that API, that data being closed off to the rest of the world, anyone is able to see that data, to pull from that data and use that data. And so you can take the Uniswap data and you could port that to your application, for example. And many websites use the Uniswap subgraph, like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, and Mizari, which are some of the highly trafficked websites in the space. And so open API usage and queries are great proxies for the usage on Ethereum, but also other blockchains. And it just shows kind of the level of activity that has been happening in the blockchain space. So to give you an idea of where the graph sits, you have the blockchain on the bottom, for example, Ethereum, and then the graph is organizing that data. The analogy I like to use is like, imagine going to a library, you want to find a specific book, and that library, the books are all over the place, they're not organized. The graph is kind of organizing the data that already exists in that library and putting those books on a shelf so that you can easily find the book you're looking for within a matter of a second. And that's kind of what the graph does with data on blockchains like Ethereum. You can also imagine different networks. So the Oracle network at the bottom, like Chainlink, and the graph kind of sits on top, and then there's applications on top of that. Also storage networks like IPFS. The graph is also indexing and querying layer 2 blockchains like Arbitrum, and side chains like Polygon. So really wherever developers go in this ecosystem, the graph will be to help them access data from whichever network they're on. So we can see the growth within the blockchain space, and the query, when I say query, you can kind of think of search. It's like anytime you go to a website, you're querying that website. Anytime you look for trade information on uniswap.info, you're querying that subgraph. And so we've seen queries really grow exponentially within the graph ecosystem, and that speaks to the exponential growth in the blockchain space in Web3. So on the Graph's hosted service, there are over 20,000 lifetime developers that have built over 18,000 subgraphs, which are those open APIs that I mentioned. And there have been over 135 billion lifetime queries on the hosted service over the course of about 18 months. And in May alone, 25 billion of those queries were done. So this just shows the parabolic growth that our ecosystem has gone through, the blockchain ecosystem. And it just shows developer growth about 8 to 12%. So more developers are coming into this space, as well as in 10 to 15% month over month subgraph growth. These are some of the applications, the top applications that use the graph. So just like Chainlink helps DeFi applications, NFT applications, DAOs, the graph is also helping those applications in partnership with Chainlink. And some of the data that is being queried is like trade and exchange volumes, also total borrowed, total supplied, total staked. This is all on-chain data, and also like asset prices, wallet balances. Anytime you look up the total value locked or the TVL, a great way to do that is through the subgraphs that these dApp developers have created. And so Uniswap, Synthetics are some of the DeFi applications, but there's also many NFT applications like Foundation, Zora, Known Origin that are using subgraphs, as well as many DAOs. And so this shows the subgraphs by vertical, just to kind of give you an idea of where a lot of these subgraphs live. So about half, a little over half are in the DeFi space. That makes sense with the DeFi summer we experienced last year. And then NFTs are slowly gaining as well. And we had the NFT winter, and I'm excited because I've seen so much funding go into the NFT space. I'm excited to see the next innovations within that space. DAOs are also gaining, also cross-chain. This is one of my favorite categories because I really love that the space is kind of uniting against with all of these different networks, all of these different blockchains. In January, the Graph announced a multi-blockchain strategy in helping to support every network that exists. That's the goal. And at that time, it was quite contrarian. You had kind of the maximalists within Ethereum, the maximalists within Bitcoin. And I think it's really important that we grow towards this multi-blockchain future and that we unite as an ecosystem and really band together and focus on kind of bringing a lot of the centralized web and the centralized finance world into this decentralized space with us. This shows the query volume by vertical. So this is just how often those dApps, those subgraphs are trafficked. And so we see that a lot of the queries are happening within DeFi still. Also network analytics. So just seeing analytics data, like seeing charts and dashboards. But NFTs are the third category at 2.5%, and then DAOs at 1%. And I imagine the NFT and DAO space will grow, as well as the cross-chain space will grow quite substantially as those categories kind of get more built out. So emerging trends, as I mentioned, NFTs, generative art, but NFTs beyond art and kind of fractionalization of different illiquid assets. That's a really exciting area. Also DAOs, there's DAOs within the DeFi space, but also beyond, really shifting how we think about organizations and work. So if you're interested in any of these areas, there's so much that's going into these now. There's so much attention on these areas. I welcome you to start building in this space if you're not already. And then cross-chain assets. So across like from looking at like Bitcoin, but on Ethereum, for example, and just pulling different networks onto the blockchain that you're looking at. So we're just seeing more and more innovation because these APIs are open, because that data is a public good, anyone can access it, anyone can use it. It's like Lego building blocks in this space, and it's really allowed for so much more innovation, so much more quickly than if there were those walled gardens that exist in the Web 2 space, for example. And what's been incredible to see is just the global network that a lot of these indexers are based within. In December, so the graph has been focused on decentralization since inception 4 years ago. And in December, there was a large milestone, the launch of the graph's decentralized network. And so now we can kind of start to put the hosted service in the rearview mirror and really focus on getting all of those subgraphs from that hosted service to the decentralized network. And the indexers are the nodes. They are really the backbone of the internet. And Web 2 has one Google. The Graph Network has over 150 of these indexers indexing and querying that data, performing a similar action for what Google does in Web 2. And the map on the left shows the different regions that all of those indexers are in. So it's just great to see so much global reach. And then the delegators are helping to secure the network. The delegation role, you don't have to be technical. And I think it's really important that we express, building a new internet, building a new financial system, we need all voices from all around the table. You don't have to be technical to get in to work in this space. We need business minds, we need non-technical minds as well. And so the delegation role is the least technical role. You just delegate to the indexer, GRT, to help them grow their stake so that they can help to index those subgraphs. And then there's over 2,000 curators, and curation only launched in a permissionless way less than a month ago. So it's been great to see so many curators pop up on the Graph Network. Those curators are looking for the new cool subgraphs that migrate over. And the earlier you are to those subgraphs, the more you earn, so long as those are useful subgraphs. And so I say the curator skill set is very similar to like a trader or an investor in the blockchain space, because you're looking for the new cool useful subgraphs. So if anyone has those skill sets, I invite you to become a curator on the Graph Network. And then since the launch of the decentralized network, it started out with just one subgraph, and then that grew to 8 subgraphs. And then in less than a month's time, it's grown from 8 subgraphs to over 130 subgraphs. So we're excited to see more developers migrate their subgraphs over. So on-chain curation is a proxy for user sentiment about Ethereum and blockchain. So it's been great to see so many curators join the Graph ecosystem. This is a chart that shows the curation signal. So live peers is kind of at the top with 16% of the curation signal at the time that this was snapshotted. And then we have Curve, then Pull Together, UMA, Dodo, Open, and the list kind of goes on and on. So if you're interested in any of these dApps, those are live on the Graph Network now, and you can curate on those different subgraphs. This just shows the query fees by subgraph. So UMA is earning the most query fees. So that kind of shows that UMA is a more trafficked subgraph. And then Open, Omen, Live Peer, Dodo, Pull Together, Enzyme, Mstable, and then Audius. And the great thing about the decentralized network is now these dApps, they have decentralized infrastructure. So they don't need to run an indexer in-house. They don't need to build out centralized indexers in-house, and nor do they need to have servers. And I think that's really powerful, so that the developers can just focus, of these dApps, can just focus on building really great applications that are better than centralized applications. This just shows the fees by signal. So the query fees and the curation signal per subgraph. This is the new Explorer that launched last month. So this shows all of the subgraphs that are live on the Graph's decentralized network. You can find this at thegraph.com. These subgraphs are all available for curating on, indexing on, and the delegators that you, or the indexers that you delegate to index these subgraphs. This is just showing that, you know, the space has really been growing, and the graph is really focused on helping these other scaling solutions scale Ethereum, but helping other blockchains have indexing and query support. And the graph is really there to help decentralize Ethereum and decentralize other blockchains. So really excited to see more open source APIs. If you're a developer, I welcome you to build with subgraphs, and also collaborate on development standards, get involved in graph governance, creative dApp development, and then just more cross-chain awareness. So you can join the Graph ecosystem. Our Twitter is Graph Protocol, the same with the Telegram. The Discord, you can go to thegraph.com/Discord to find the Discord. That's really where a lot of the developers live and the team. So if you need any support, you can go there. Or if you have any questions, let us know. The website, thegraph.com, has all of the items that I mentioned previously. Edge and Node website, we are actually hiring. Edge and Node, the Graph Foundation, is also hiring. So would love to invite you to apply. And then if you have any questions for me, you can find me on Twitter, The Kline Venture, and my website is tegankline.com. Thank you so much for listening. This has been so great.
Thank you so much, Tegan. You know, something I noticed in the comments, the comments here have been so advanced. Like, people are really grappling with the ideas and like figuring it out and helping each other out. So a great community you've got, and thank you to the community for engaging with each other as well. Tegan, we will see you next time as well. Thank you for your time.